Good afternoon, beautiful citizens of the borderland. This is 915 Talk, and I am your host, Andy Frecka. We are live this beautiful March 10th, year of our Lord 2025. Kenny on the board, how you doing this afternoon?
Dealing with technical problems, sorry.
I thought we were a little bit off on the timing, but now
we were.
Now we're right on time. Now, speaking of being right on time, Kenny on the board, what is the number one reason you are ever late to any event?
I leave late.
I appreciate your honesty, but
I think you're looking for traffic, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But when you get there, you say it was because of the traffic, right?
No.
Yeah. No. Oh,
if I leave late, it's on me.
You're a man, an honest man, Kenny on the board. The last true. So we are going to be talking about traffic today. We're going to be talking about roads. We're going to be talking about heroes on the road, Kenny on the board.
Cool.
Do you know about the heroes?
The heroes on the road?
Yeah.
What are the heroes on the road?
So my son got stuck in his car in front of Bassett Place Mall a couple of months ago, and I didn't know where to turn. I was at a bank in a very important meeting, and the banker said, just call Hero. Have you ever heard of this, Kenny, on the board?
No, I've never heard of that.
And my son tells a story.
I call USAA roadside assistance.
Yeah, see, you're going to learn something new today because you need to call Hero.
Okay, so tell me about Hero.
Well, my son was there in front of Bassett Place in rush hour. The car's broken down because his dad got him a 2002 Buick. And
oh my goodness.
And it wasn't like the most upstanding citizens that were offering him assistance. And I called Hero, and I told him, get in the car and close the door. And he tells a story. He says this truck pulls up behind him, and this big man walks up next to his car, looks inside, and he has his helmet. And across the front of the helmet, it says in big letters, Hero.
Nice. Of course, he would have been easily recognized if he had a cape on.
Yeah, well, he just went for the helmet that said Hero, and he put gas in my son's car absolutely for free, which I feel is a life hack. And my son was on his way. Isn't that great?
That is awesome.
Yeah, I think we just complain too much about the government, and sometimes, occasionally, they do something good for us.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. So we're going to find out about some of the good things today, and we're going to ask maybe a few hard questions, but mainly we're going to learn because, as I've said so often with this program, many of our listeners know what's happening nationally, but very little about what's happening locally. So we need to learn what's happening locally.
Yes.
And one of the big parts of El Paso is our road system, especially I-10, especially the Loop Highway, the spur that goes around the military base. All of these things are a big part of our life, unless we work from home. But as I-10 goes, so goes El Paso. So we need to learn about what's happening there. And so we have some representatives of TXDOT here today, Kenny, on the board.
Nice.
Yeah.
We're going to get the skinny on everything.
Yeah, the skinny. I like that. So we're going to get the skinny on from TXDOT. And so if anyone's listening right now and you have questions for TXDOT, be aware that we will be asking why so many barrels and so few workers. You don't need to ask that question. But if you have another,
cheaper.
but barrels are cheaper. But if you have another question, we are on YouTube Live. We're on Facebook Live. Find KELP Radio. Find this conversation. Go into the comment section. Ask the question. We'll get to as many of those as possible. I really appreciate these two representatives of TXDOT coming in so that we can have this kind of conversation between the community and TXDOT. And so wherever you are, whether you be on I-10, just wondering why there's traffic, or on 375, maybe you're just buzzing home and everything's great. Let's give a very warm welcome. We have Lauren Macias-Cervantes, who is the Public Information Officer for TXDOT. And we also have the TXDOT Director of Transportation Planning and Development, Raul Ortega.
Well, so I thought I saw a limousine out there.
Yeah, the TXDOT limo, I like that. No, they came in a chopper. So without not
too
really.
much traffic.
Yeah. So without further ado, let's give a very warm KELP welcome to TXDOT. Lauren and Raul, welcome to 915 Talk.
Thank you for having us
Thank
today.
you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so it's great to just jump right into this, find out what's going on in our roads, and I'm going to ask the most difficult question to start off with. We have a lot to talk about, including Hero, which I mentioned. We're going to be talking about safety issues. We're going to be talking about all the help that's out there in the rest areas, especially with spring break coming up. But let's start off with a really difficult question. The most difficult question probably you'll get during this next hour. Why so many orange barrels and so few workers? I mean, that's the way it looks to many drivers. So what is actually happening?
Yeah, so I could start off by saying, so whenever we do have a construction that's under construction, right, construction project, we do have to provide what we call traffic control. And that's when you see the orange barrels, some of the concrete barriers that are right next to what we call the work zone.
Right.
And so a lot of times we have to make sure that when we do start a construction project, the contractor might be in a certain phase of construction that might leave the road in an unsafe condition. And so we have to make sure we keep the traveling public away from whatever it is that may be a dangerous situation.
The rebar sticking out of the
Exactly.
concrete.
Right, and that's something that we get a lot of question about. You know, we have a full weekend closure, for example, and people will say, well, I don't see workers there. You know,
Right.
what's going on? And one of the activities that we have is when our crews are pouring a bridge, for example, they have to have a full lane closure on both sides because of the vibrations on the roadway. And once that is poured, then it needs to cure. And so that's why we tell people you'll see workers at first, you know, they're pouring out there, but then you know, it needs to cure, and so that you won't see workers because it's curing. And it needs to be an extensive and lengthy closure due to the vibrations.
Oh, yes. So I was hoping and expecting that there would be a perfectly reasonable answer for this. So that's great. So there's vibrations. There has to be a certain distance
And
between.
and there's human lives out there
Yeah, yeah.
working, and so we have to have the proper, like Raul mentioned, traffic control out there when projects are in progress, because there is equipment, there are workers out there, and there needs to be, you know, safety in mind at all times.
Right, of course. So how long does it take the concrete to cure? Do you know a rough
Yeah,
amount?
so typically it depends on what type of structure is being constructed, right? But there's a 7-day curing period,
Okay.
and there's a 28-day curing
Oh,
period.
wow. Okay.
And so those are the time periods when we test the concrete to ensure that it's hit its optimized strength.
Okay. Yeah. So sometimes we might be driving by for a month,
Right.
and not see anything happening, and it's because the concrete is curing or hardening, or it's going through the scientific chemical process that it needs to in order for the bridge or structure to be safe for us to drive on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So kind of with that, what is the west side of El Paso, I-10? I think that's what's on the forefront of many people's minds. When will that be finished? I don't know how else to ask that question.
Yeah, so a couple of things. So first, I-10 widening west, which you might be more familiar with. That's been going on a little longer. Is from Mesa to Vinton,
Right.
and that's the widening there. Main lanes over Los Mochis were recently opened. The work continues on that future third lane. People have asked us, well, you said it was going to be 3 lanes. Well, yes. We're now, workers are now getting that third lane ready.
Okay.
And they're also working in the Thorn and Mesa section. Crews are also surveying and marking the layout in that area. The portion of the project is expected to be complete in fall 2025, this portion.
Okay.
But there is a widening west too, which is from Vinton to the Texas-New Mexico state line, and that will be 3 years. And that project just got started. So that'll be 3 years for that one. Widening west, fall 2025.
So 3 years, I think for someone who's driving down the road seems like a really long time. What are some of the reasons it takes so long?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we like to show with our videos, because people, sometimes can't see the work that's going on behind the barrier. You're driving by, and
Right.
sometimes there's work going on underneath. Sometimes there's work going on that you can't see on the other side of the barrier. So for example, I-10 widening west 2 has 14 bridges that crews have to demolish and then reconstruct. And then there's all the widening that goes, people might say, well, why don't you hurry up with the roadway? It's just, pour some dirt and some concrete on there. But it's there's more to that process.
How deep are we going into the ground?
Right. So a lot of it is already existing condition. I mean, I-10 already exists between Mesa to the New Mexico state line. So being able to, I mean, this project, we're adding the third lane in each direction, right?
Okay.
Interstate work. But also what's included in that project is drainage to ensure that when it does rain, that the interstate does not flood.
Okay.
And we're also talking about reversing and optimizing the exit and entrance ramps at each of the major interchange within those limits of construction. So there is just a lot going on within that 6-mile stretch.
Right. So that's a 6-mile stretch with 14 bridges. Is that what did I understand that correctly? All right. Now, is that all just bridges going over I-10, or is that overpasses as well?
No, that's just with I-10.
Yeah, and it's both overpass and underpasses within
Okay.
I-10. Yes.
Yeah. So I did notice that in the news section, just west of El Paso, there's some of these overpasses, which I assume are to alleviate some traffic in those areas. And so once that's done, the construction won't be over. That's what I'm learning. Yeah. Which is, I guess it's good for us to adjust our expectations, because I think everyone is kind of thinking, well, this is going to be done and then it's over. But it's not actually.
Yeah, and it's important to mention that this project and others were identified as a result of a study called Reimagine I-10, where we studied 50 miles of I-10 from Anthony to Clint, taking a look at what the future in terms of traffic growth is expected to be.
Right.
And so that's where, it's not. There's more coming.
Yeah, one of the things I had mentioned is that just in the west side itself, we have 3 projects. It's a full investment of just shy of $500 million in just 3 projects alone. The two phases of I-10 between Mesa and the New Mexico state line, and then we have the Aircraft interchange where we be constructing 4 new direct connect ramps.
Right. Yeah. So tomorrow we're going to be having District 1 Representative Alejandra Chavez on. That directly affects her constituency. Right. That's actually one of the things we're going to be talking about. So my question with that is, you're looking decades into the future, I think, but the community is looking at what's happening right now.
Sure.
So how do you deal with that tension? Because I'll say why I'm asking this. If you look at the I-10 widening downtown, which is a project that, as far as I know, you're planning for the bridges to be higher. I would say for most people, that's not a felt need. It's not a pain point. What's a pain point is traffic at Bassett Place. So how are those decisions made, especially with the tension of you guys looking to the future and then the local community basically feeling maybe we don't have a voice in it, or do we have a voice in it? So throwing all that out there, what do we do with all that?
Sure. As Lauren mentioned, we had a corridor study that we studied the 55 miles of I-10 within El Paso County from Tornillo all the way to Anthony. And so within that study, there was traffic analysis that were done, present, current traffic analysis, and also projected 50 years in advance.
50 years.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And so being able to see and study and model that potential traffic growth also has a need for potential added capacity. And so that's what we're doing right now in phase 1, phase 2 of our I-10 West project. We're adding capacity. We're adding that third lane to make sure that we keep up with current traffic and future traffic projections.
Right. So where does the voice of the community come in?
Yeah, something important to mention that before construction even begins, there's public meetings, and that's the opportunity for people to come out and let us know how they use that road, what they would like to see for the future of that roadway, because everyone uses it differently. You might use it as a, maybe using your bicycle, maybe you're a pedestrian and you use public transit, or you use it daily.
Right.
And so it's very important when there are those opportunities for people to come out, to come and let us know and give us their feedback,
Right.
because that's when it can make a difference.
Yeah, and if I may add, so there's different stages of project development, and each of the stages include public involvement and public feedback. So public feedback is a key component for us in our planning efforts so that we can go ahead and design and deliver these projects.
Do people come to these meetings?
They do.
They do.
Yes.
Okay.
They do.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm just curious because often you'll hear this and it's like, well, nobody knew about it. There were 3 people there and they don't actually use the roads. Like I'm being facetious a little bit, but you get what I'm saying. But people do come and you are taking into account what they have to say.
Right. And there's a lot of different methods that we use to engage the public and to make sure that we receive that public feedback. We have in-person meetings. We have virtual component. We also have 30-day commenting periods. We have project websites where people could drop in their feedback at any point of the project development.
Okay. So Raul, you said you're looking 50 years into the future. TXDOT. What do you think the population of El Paso will be 50 years from now?
Oh my goodness, I don't have those numbers, but
Yeah.
I know that currently we're just shy of 1 million.
Yeah. But are you seeing like big population growth? Is that what you're basing the model on? The population growth, or like?
There's a lot. So we also use what we call the travel demand model, and so we work closely with the El Paso Metropolitan Planning Organization,
Okay.
who has a travel demand model. And so it's a regional model where they forecast a 20-year plan, and that plan shows the needs and the directions that the traffic is anticipated to go. So
Yeah.
we work very closely with them, and then we do use that model to help us with the projections when we do the traffic analysis.
Okay. So why do the bridges need to now be 20 feet high instead of 16 or whatever the numbers are?
Yeah. So a lot of times, I mean, freight.
Like my car is like 7 feet high. It's a Explorer, maybe 6. I don't know.
Yeah. So off of an interstate, 18 and a half is the vertical clearance that's required.
Yeah.
So a lot of these 18-wheelers of freights, they're getting taller. And
Okay.
so being able to make sure that there is no bridge hits,
Okay.
that's part of the requirements that's out there.
Yeah. So we have to raise the bridges, make them higher, getting ready for bigger trucks. Is there a plan to like divert truck traffic from the city?
There's projects that we have that are already in play. So Borderland Expressway, which is a route that will take people from East El Paso to connect them to New Mexico.
Right.
We just opened the first phase of that project. So that'll provide the opportunity for not only semi-trucks, but also vehicles that are just traveling through El Paso that would like an alternate route aside from I-10.
Right.
In the future, they'll have that opportunity to use that route.
Along with Loop 375, that's already in place.
Yeah. Someone was saying diverting truck traffic up through Anthony Gap. Is that in the plans?
So that's the project that
Okay.
Lauren was talking about,
Okay.
the State Spur 320, which is what we call the Borderline Expressway.
Oh, okay.
It will connect from
okay.
Yeah,
Loop
it'll
375, and it will go to MLK, to the New Mexico state line.
Right.
And then it will use New Mexico's 213, and then go into New Mexico's 404, which is the Anthony Gap that goes onto
So it'll
I-10.
essentially be that MLK exit will be where there's some kind of new spaghetti bowl, or
Yeah, there'll be some direct connectors in
Okay.
that area.
yeah, very very interesting. Would love to divert some of that truck traffic from the city. A lot more to talk about here. We're with TXDOT, 2 representatives, Raul and Lauren. Really appreciate you guys coming in. We're about to go into a break. Just want to make a quick shout out to one of our impact partners here at KELP. That's Caring Companions. If you have an elderly relative or someone who just needs assistance at home, before just putting them in a facility, reach out to Caring Companions. Find out if that might be a good fit for you. CaringCompanionsEP.com. And just as a reminder to you listeners, if you're listening and you have a question for TXDOT, use the comment section on YouTube, KELP Radio, or Facebook Live. We'll get to as many of those questions as possible. When we get back from the break, we're going to be talking about some of the programs outside of roads that TXDOT is working on. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
915 Talk is listener supported. If you believe that local Christian talk radio is important to our community, please take a moment to prayerfully consider taking part. For all donation options, including secure online giving, visit KELPradio.com and click on the Cornerstone Broadcasting link. Let's reach our neighbors in the borderland together.
915.
Testify.
I used to be a very angry person at the world, being young, having kids, having a wife, being a father, just meeting those expectations that the world puts on you. It's not about the world, it's about, your relationship with God. And I didn't realize that until I was older, and because I was living a life that I shouldn't have been living a sinful life, living for the flesh instead of living for God. I was hanging around people I probably shouldn't have hang around with, drinking, going out to parties, and coming home like 2, 3 in the morning. There was one day that I completely broke down. My son was asking me like, Dad, how come you're like this? How come you're always mad? And yeah, that day I did end up bringing out my Bible. I just broke down and started crying, because I felt the way Paul felt. Read your Bible, guys. If you don't know what to read, go into Proverbs, go into Psalms. God, He's protected me in so many different ways. He's the reason why I'm here. I'm trying to help other people reach God. He could truly change your life. My name is Miguel Ipave. I'm from El Paso. And if Jesus did this for me, I know He could definitely do it for you.
And they overcame Him by the blood of the Lamb.
And by the word of their testimony.
KELPradio.com. We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you are listening to 915 Talk. We have the privilege of being with two TXDOT representatives today, Lauren Macias-Cervantes and Raul Ortega. And we've been talking about what takes so long with the construction projects. We found out that it could take a bridge up to 28 days for the concrete to cure. We found out that much of the west side of El Paso is getting close to being finished with I-10, but there's still a lot of work to do once that project's completed beyond Vinton into New Mexico. But before we went into break, I promised that we'd be talking about what TXDOT deals with that's not roads. Lauren, what are some of those things?
So first, let's, since it's spring break, there's a lot of people that are perhaps thinking of traveling or getting out for a bit. We have a travel information center. Our Anthony location is one of 12 across the state where people can go and get information on travel from our travel information counselors. These are counselors that can go, and you can go, and maybe you want to travel somewhere in Texas, but you're not quite sure where's a good place and where you should stop and what's there to do there. And so they can assist you with that. They provide maps. I brought a map to make sure that I remembered to
like actual paper maps.
Yes, which is important because
Yeah.
sometimes your phone is not charged, or
Or you're out in Texas, you could be outside a cell phone range.
correct. And
Yeah.
so they provide travel maps, and they also have a travel guide, which is like a thick magazine book-like publication that'll tell you about all the things there are to do in Texas. So, this is a great place to not only go and get information, but if you're traveling, go and use the restroom. Perhaps you need the vending machines, you need some Wi-Fi, you just need, a little break. So that's one of the things. We also have nearly 80 rest areas across the state where people can stop safely and go to the restroom again. Yeah. And if they need to stay overnight, then they are able to stay up to 24 hours. But, it's important because sometimes Texas is a big state, and sometimes it takes a long time to get to your next destination. So this offers the opportunity to kind of, stretch your legs. If you're getting sleepy, you don't want to drive tired, this will offer you that opportunity to to take a rest. So our travel information centers and our rest areas are one of those things that we definitely want to remind people are there for
Right.
them, and they're part of TXDOT.
So there's 80 rest areas, and how many counselors did you say?
There's 12 travel information centers
Okay.
across the state,
Okay.
and here in our region, there's one right as you enter Texas.
Okay,
So
so-
at exit 0
Okay.
is our travel information center.
Okay, and you can find a travel counselor there, and they'll tell you all about Texas and where to go and the best routes.
Yeah,
and
because
everything.
people might know about the top spots like maybe San Antonio, but there's other places across the state that people can go and visit.
Okay, very good. Good to know there's travel counselors. I think Kenny on the board could use a travel counselor sometimes. And let me tell us about Hero. I told my Hero story with my son. He looked very much like a lost student who goes to private school and didn't know what to do with his car. Sorry. His car was stuck in the middle of I-10 rush hour traffic. But what is the Hero program?
Sure. So if you don't, first and foremost, if you don't have our Hero number saved in your cell phone, you should have it, 915-790-HERO. And this is our Highway Emergency Response Operator program. It started back in June of 2020. It's aimed at improving safety along our roadways. It consists of operators. That's what they do, is they drive along our roadways, I-10, Loop 375, US 54. The program operates Monday through Friday from 5 to 9 during the week, and then on weekends, it's from 9 to 9.
So 5 a.m. to 9 p.m.?
Correct.
So if you run out of gas after 9 p.m., you're on your own.
Gotta
You don't
call
want
a
to say
friend.
that.
Gotta
Yeah,
call
go
a friend. Important to note, just really quickly, though, that if your car stalls, stay in your vehicle and call for help. Either call our Hero or call, emergency, the non-emergency police number.
Right. Okay.
You don't want to get out of your vehicle, but they can help you with gas. They can help you with a flat tire. If you need a battery jump, they can help you with that. If you're stranded and your vehicle you need a tow, they can tow you. They won't tow you to your house, but they'll tow you to the safest, nearest location.
So they'll drop you off in a mall parking lot, essentially. Which is okay, but I'm just asking.
Yes,
Yeah,
it'll
yeah,
be
yeah.
the nearest, safest place from I-10.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, so they won't take you to your house.
Right.
But,
Right.
They also have been very helpful with emergency situations where there's a large crash, perhaps on I-10. They help our emergency responders with traffic control. Also during winter weather, they help stranded motorists. And we've had to extend their coverage into Van Horn when there's winter weather situations. So very important to have that Hero number.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
your
So
cell phone.
give us the number again.
915-790-HERO. And the Hero dispatcher is housed at our traffic management center along with our staff that is a team that monitors more than 200 cameras that are in play along our roadways. So they work collaboratively with them. So our team that is monitoring I-10 can perhaps maybe see a vehicle that is stranded on the side of the road and then tell the Hero, hey, Hero, can you go check it out? And then
So Hero could show up even if you weren't
If you
listening
don't
to
call
KELP
them.
and you didn't have your
Yes.
number saved.
Yes.
Number saved in your phone. I mean, it actually really is super cool that is out there. And of course, there has to be certain boundaries to these services they provide. I thought it was amazing. Free gasoline. I mean, a couple gallons, that'll get you where you need to go.
Yeah,
you
just
know?
enough to get him to where he needed to go.
So,
Yeah, because so each shift consists of 5 trucks and 1 tow truck, and they'll monitor the mentioned roadways throughout the time period.
yeah, when I called Hero, it was a little bit amusing because it was kind of like, not like dispatcher, like, what is your emergency? It was just kind of like, it seemed like a laid back guy sitting in an office, like, what's going on? And he said, yeah, we'll see when we can get there. So you might have to wait a minute, but they actually came really quick. because if there's 5 trucks and they're all busy, you might have to wait, half hour or whatever.
Depends, if it's rush hour or
Yeah,
what
of course.
time of the
Yeah,
day
but
is.
it's kind of you get what you pray for, right? Pay for, not pray for. This is Christian radio. So here's a question that came in: are they responsible for marking the stalled car? Oh, this is the question of the century. Because it's either TXDOT or it's the Illuminati.
The H?
No.
Oh.
No, it's either you guys or it's the Illuminati. This is a question that my kids are always asking when we're driving down the highway. If you could answer this question, you will just take away so much concern in our family. When a car is broken down on the side of the road, who is the person who puts the H on the back?
Yeah, it's our
with the
heroes.
Heroes.
It's our heroes because
Oh.
when
With a circle
a
around
vehicle,
it, yeah.
yes, when a vehicle is abandoned on the side of the road, our heroes will go and check it out. Just make
Yeah.
sure that to see if anybody's inside.
Yeah.
If no one's there, then they go ahead and mark it with an H to let El Paso police know, hey, don't stop. This vehicle has been checked by us. You can go ahead
yeah.
and it can be
So what does the H stand for? Hazard, hero,
hero.
just hero. Okay.
That's been checked
Yeah.
by a hero.
Okay.
yes, so they know.
It's been checked by a hero. Yeah, okay. I love it. A real life hero. All right, so hero's the one driving around putting H's with circles on the back of broken down cars. It's part of their job. I like that. All right, so anything else we need to know about the hero program?
No, I think that, it's just important for people to know that they're out there. We have had heroes tell us, people sometimes think that they're afraid for us to help them because they think we're going to charge them. There is no charge for this service.
Right.
And so that's one of the comments that they get. Also, sometimes people are skeptical, like, who are you and are you really going to help me? So you will always see our heroes in it's safety yellow and with the hard hat. So
that says hero on it,
yes,
right?
and their vehicles are marked.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it does seem too good to be true. Even after I called and I was super grateful, I was still expecting a bill in the mail. It didn't come. It was absolutely free. It was just like amazing. So thank you for Hero. I'm not happy about how long it's going to take you to build 14 bridges between Vinton and the New Mexico line, but at least we have Hero.
Before we leave that topic, though, I do want to mention that when you see a hero helping a stranded motorist on the side of the road, it is important to move over or slow down.
Mm-hmm.
These are, again, people, human lives that are working out on our roadways, and we've seen sometimes that people don't slow down or don't move over, and
Right.
it is a law.
Yeah.
So if you see them out there, please just move over. Or
If
slow
you see
down.
anyone outside their car, period, slow down, move over. There's no reason to be in that big of a hurry unless you're Kenny on the board, late to the radio station. No. It doesn't matter who you are. It's a law. It's a law, Kenny on the board. So
if I don't get here, the radio's programs don't start on time.
yeah, that's right. So so we have Kenny on the board, and we also have Mac Daddy Del Norte. He's running our live feed for YouTube and Facebook Live. And they were talking before you guys came in. The two of them want to adopt a highway. So tell me what Kenny on the board and Mac Daddy Del Norte need to do if they want to adopt a highway. Why are you laughing, Mac Daddy?
Yeah.
If I can afford my dog, how can I afford a highway?
Yeah, okay. So tell us about Adopt a Highway.
No, Adopt a Highway is, a program that it's a Texas-born program. It allows volunteers to adopt stretches of state-maintained roadway, and they conduct litter pickups. Although nearly 90% of litter is removed by paid contractors, volunteer efforts certainly help. It's free. It's an easy way for groups to help beautify their communities. So we have a lot of organizations, a lot of school teams participate in this. There's 151 segments that are adopted in our district, which is from El Paso to Presidio. In El Paso County, there are 33 segments available for adoption. So if you have somebody listening or you guys want to adopt a section.
They've been talking a lot about it all day.
All right, so there's 33 available.
So is that 33 miles or what is that?
No, so what this is, so there's 33 segments. The Adopt you adopt a 2-mile stretch.
Okay.
It's a 2-mile stretch of highway for a minimum of 2 years. So it's a 2-year commitment, 2-mile stretch. You agree to pick up litter 4 times a year.
Okay.
More in some areas due to some heavy traffic. You will have a sign with your group's name posted in that section.
Right.
And then we provide volunteers safety vests, litter bags, and safety training. So we provide the vests, the trash bags, and then, our maintenance crews go and pick up the bags once the cleanup is done.
Okay, so do you have to be an adult to actually be on the side of the road picking up garbage?
Well, usually when these happen,
Because Mac Daddy Del Norte has a couple kids. He was thinking of having them do
and
the
we
trash
do
pickup.
have schools that have groups.
Okay.
And
no,
so they go out there as a group.
Okay.
We've had even people like in walkers. Some people do it because they want to do it in memory of a loved one.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the whole family goes out there, from the young kids to, grandma. And so, it could be a group. It could be,
So I'd imagine, if you have a group of, 10 people, 2 miles, you'd get done in a few hours every quarter. I mean, that's basically the idea, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
it's not actually like a 2-day task or anything like that.
Right. It's usually like a Saturday morning. They let us know that it's happening so that we can provide them the vests and the trash bags. And then once, you're ready to commit for that 2 years, then the sign goes up with your organization name or name.
Love it, love it. So all of you churches out there who are listening, go out and adopt a stretch of highway. I asked artificial intelligence just this weekend, how many churches are in El Paso, Protestant churches? And according to Grok AI, there are 350. So if every 10th church adopted a highway, we'd have those 33 segments. And can you write anything you want on the sign? I mean, within the boundaries of reason, or does it have to be your group
Yeah,
name?
it's usually
Could
the
you send
group
out a
name.
message? Could we put out a Bible reference? What's the rules here?
It's usually the group name.
Okay.
And it's very important to mention that this is not going to be an part of the interstate or a high-speed roadway.
Check.
So it's not a high-speed roadway.
No, interstate and high-traffic highways are not eligible for this program.
Oh.
Yeah, so it could be typically, say,
Like
along
parts of
Loop
Donovan
Loop
or-
375 on the frontage road where the actual speed
Oh,
is slower
okay.
than main lanes.
I was hoping for some I-10 action. We don't do that. Okay.
No.
Okay, so that brings up an important point. Which road? Actually, let's do it this way. There's a portion of the program where I like to guess, whether and the guest expert tells me if I'm right. So TXDOT, you are not responsible for all the roads in El Paso, and you're responsible for I-10. You're responsible for Loop 375. You're responsible for the Spur 6. What is it? The number 6?
601?
601. Thank you, Kenny, on the board, and Raul. You're responsible for Donovan, Mesa, and Alameda. What did I miss?
Lots more.
Lots more? Okay. What are a
So-
few of the others?
So, and I'll let Raul go into this a little bit more, but just to give you kind of a snapshot, we're responsible for 5,039 lane miles in 6 counties. So again, that's from El Paso to Presidio. It includes 200 miles of I-10. You mentioned 54, Loop 375, all the spurs, not just Spur 601, state highways, farm to market roads included as well.
Right. So portions of Zaragoza, I don't know if you mentioned
Yeah. No, I
Zaragoza.
did not.
So north of I-10, that
Okay.
segment, all the way to Loop 375,
Okay.
that's what we cover.
Yeah.
Portions of State Highway, which is Mesa and Donovan.
So what I'm getting at is you're not responsible for Montana, like between Copia and Casa Ford, where there's all the potholes. That's not you guys. That's
So segments of some segments of state highways
Yeah.
are maintained by other local entities.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the potholes on Montana, not your fault.
Usually we take care of those.
Oh man, I feel like I need to dig deeper, but there's too much to go through here. But I think it is important to understand that certain streets are covered, I guess, by the city,
The
the
city
state.
or their respective entity.
Yeah, okay.
Important to mention, though,
Yeah.
if people do see potholes or something that needs immediate attention, they can go to TXDOT.gov and contact us there and let us know, hey, I see this huge pothole, or, if there's something that needs immediate attention.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's so with that. Where does the money for the roads come from?
Yeah, so it's a mixture. It's a mixture of federal, state, and local funds. We have a total of 12 different funding categories for different types of projects. As I mentioned, so we have a diverse portfolio of projects that we have. We have safety projects. We have preventive maintenance, rehabilitation type projects. We have what we call mobility projects, which is the added capacity projects. And so those different projects are funded with the 12 different funding categories that I mentioned that comprise of federal and state funds.
Okay, so from everywhere. I don't know if you're able to answer this or if you want to answer it, but what comes to mind is we hear that the federal government is tightening budgets. Is there any concern that some of these projects will not move forward as planned? Or does that ever happen in your experience, or how does that work?
So TxDOT has a what we call the UTP, Unified Transportation Program, and it's a 10-year funding forecast. And so right now the funding forecast that we're operating under is about $104 billion statewide 10-year funded projection plan.
You said state funded?
Statewide.
Okay.
That's our statewide plan.
All right. So we should be okay because it's state, not federal. But we have some federal funds. I guess we'll see where it goes. I mean, I think with what's going on, I'll just comment. I won't expect you to comment on this. But with what we see happening is we don't know what's going to happen with a lot of the funding out there. So it will be interesting to see what happens. We're with Lauren Macias-Cervantes, who's the Public Information Officer of TxDOT, and Raul Ortega, who's the Director of Transportation Planning and Development. We're talking not just about the roads, but a lot of things around the roads. We're going to be back in just a minute. We're going to take a break. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
Are you looking for a Bible teaching church on the west side of El Paso? This is Terry Gray, pastor of Calvary Chapel, Sun City, and speaker on the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. here on this station. Calvary Chapel, Sun City is located at 960 West Borderland Road on the west side of El Paso. We hold services on Wednesday evenings at 7 and on Sunday mornings at 9 and 11. You can find out more information about us on the web at www.ccsuncity.org. The Lord bless you, my friends. Hey, KLP listeners, this is Pastor Terry Gray of Calvary Chapel, Sun City on El Paso's west side. I want to invite you to join me at a new time at 5 p.m. Monday through Friday right here on KELP. If you're 5 p.m. or doing work around the house or getting your evening started, I invite you to join me as we go through the Bible chapter by chapter, verse by verse. There is nothing more valuable than the Word of God, so let's invest our time in learning more about it together each day. That's our Bible study program, Summons, each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on KELP.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
And we're back. You are listening to 915 Talk. I'm your host, Andy Frecka. Today we have TxDOT with us, Officer Lauren Macias-Cervantes, and the Director of Transportation Planning and Development, Raul Ortega. I do hope that you are enjoying, as listeners, the new format. We've gone daily with 915 Talk. As we always say at the end of the program, let's learn to love our city and love our neighbors. Give God all the glory. We need to know what's going on in our own community, not just what's going on nationally. If you have ideas of just different topics or even people you'd like to see come into the program, go to KELPradio.com, use that contact form. there are so many parts to this community, and we are faith-based radio. So if we believe that He is Lord of all, then we need to learn about the all. We need to learn about all parts of our community. Also, last week we on 915 pray. So we pray for our community at 9:15 a.m. and 9:15 p.m. every day. We actually prayed for the roads. We prayed for drivers, and we believe God cares about that. So it's kind of been an interesting week for us. We got a lot of feedback on that prayer. I think some people were chuckling as well. But I think it is important. Certainly the roads are a central part of our community. So, Raul, I know that the ports of entry are not under TXDOT, but the roads leading up to them are. Is that correct?
That's correct. So within our district, we have 7 ports of entries within our district.
Wow.
The port of entry in Presidio, the actual bridge, TXDOT is the owner. All the other ports of entry bridges are owned by different entities within the El Paso County. So it's the combination of GSA, City of El Paso, and El Paso County who own the actual bridges.
Right.
And so, of course, the collaboration between all these different entities is extremely important, and which we do with those different entities. And so, like you mentioned, a lot of these ports of entries do feed into a state facility that we got to make sure that we understand the volumes, the type of vehicles that are coming through the ports of entries to ensure that we accommodate those vehicles.
Yeah.
I'll give you one example. So the Zaragoza Port of Entry is owned by the City of El Paso, and the collaboration between us and them has been there. We do have a project ongoing right now on Loop 375 between Bob Hope and Zaragoza, where we are adding capacity. We are doing some operational improvements with the ramping in that area.
Yeah, it is a weird drive up to that port of entry,
Right.
isn't it? It's kind of like suddenly there's a port of entry and you're trying to get off onto there. So there is a plan to build a ramp up. Is that what you're saying? Or?
No. So Loop 375. So we have pretty much what we call modernize the ramps within Loop 375 in that area. So that's ongoing construction right now.
Okay. All right. So I want to talk particularly about the one port of entry that affects my life the most, because after we have 915 talk every day, I go on I-10 across US 54 to Copia, and there's always that bridge traffic there into the port of entry. What are some of the ideas to kind of relieve that? Because it does seem to really back up I-10 pretty far.
Yeah, so a lot of it is the coordination that we have with GSA, making sure that we provide any potential opportunities to enhance that area. Of course, as we mentioned, we've already completed an I-10 Connect project in that area where we did remove some of that traffic off of the Paisano area and onto I-110.
Okay.
That leads directly to the port of entry.
Right.
Again, the Reimagine I-10 corridor study also identified different segments along I-10 where we can continue to enhance all the areas. Big operational improvements on ramps is something that can definitely help a lot of different interchanges within I-10.
We also launched the first variable speed limit back in October along that US 54 corridor.
That's a good point.
And so I don't know if you have seen where the speed limit can change.
Okay.
According to what the traffic flow is,
Okay.
because there is a lot of traffic going into the port.
Right.
And so that was one of the reasons that the variable speed limit, that was the ideal place for that.
Right.
And that has been activated several times.
Right, and so how that works, it's really taking the traffic. So if the traffic starts queuing, coming off of US 54 towards the port of entry, there is some speed limit signs that do change, so that really advises the driver to go ahead and slow down as you get to that queue.
Right.
Along
Yeah,
US
so everyone's
54.
not just blowing in, and
Right.
that even creates more traffic.
Right,
The
absolutely.
variable speed limit, is that just like an LED sign? Is that what that is? Or
There are, yes, so it can change. There's one on either side, so if you're on the right lane or left lane,
Right.
you can see, and there are warning signs letting you know that there's a variable speed limit coming up, so that you're aware that it may be different based on the traffic that they're seeing in that area.
Okay. All right. Well, this is all Interesting. I kind of feel like these projects are so massive. You know, you can't just snap your fingers and see a change. As we're learning, it takes 28 days for the concrete to cure, and it's going to take 3 years to finish. Sorry, fit into the New Mexico line. But you're working on these massive contracts, these massive issues. It takes a minute to deal with them all. Anything I can do to help relieve some of that traffic into that Bridge of America's entry, I'm just offering myself as a adopted port of entry. Would love to help out, but I think there are a lot of people stuck in that traffic in front of Bassett Place, especially in the evening, that would say the same. But you're working on these massive issues. But in the middle of all this, Lauren, you're having events. Tell me about TXDOT events. I've never imagined myself going to a TXDOT event. Like, is it like homecoming, prom? Like, what are we doing here?
No, so we something else that TXDOT does is car seat safety checks.
Car seats, okay.
Yes, so we have
Mac Daddy Del Norte can use that. He has a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old. He needs someone to check on his car seat safety. So he can go, so how does he go to the car seat safety check?
Sure. So these are 2 car seat events, and what happens with these is that caregivers, and I said caregivers because it might be parents, it might be grandparents, and uncle, cousins that take care of the children. So what happens in these events is the car seat is checked to make sure you have the right car seat, and then how it is installed in your vehicle is checked. Because most are not installed properly.
Okay.
So we have car seat safety technicians that are trained by the state to check these kind of things and teach the caregiver how to properly install these car seats. So we're having 2 of them. The first one is March the 20th from 3:30 to 5:30, and this is at 14590 Greg in El Paso. Because we do have these in other parts of the district, but this one's in El Paso, 14590 Greg, and this is in partnership with the Sheriff's Office. You do need a valid government-issued ID or driver's license. You do need to bring your child and the car seat, and we do provide car seats, on a limited basis for those people that need them. So sometimes, it's just not in good shape, or the need is there, and so we assist with that. The second one is Saturday, March 22nd from 10 to noon, and this is at 2350 George Dieter, and this is in partnership with Judge Rebecca Bustamante, and again, the opportunity to come and get your car seat checked for free.
Okay.
10 to noon. And then we've got a bike rodeo coming up at the end
Wait,
of the month.
hold on. A bike rodeo. Did you hear that, Kenny, on the board?
Yeehaw!
Yeah, I think Kenny on the board wants to adopt a highway and take part in the bike rodeo. He has a 10-speed. He's pretty good on it. But
I'm sorry. Have you looked at this body? Does it scream my exercise?
All right, so tell us more about the bike rodeo.
So the bike rodeo is Saturday, March 29th from 10 to noon, and this is going to take place in the parking lot of Economy Wholesale Grocers. That's at 411 North Zaragoza, and this is actually the second bike rodeo that we've had. Last year we had it in Alpine, outside Sul Ross State University, and this is an opportunity for kids to come.
Wait, hold on. I feel like we need to just pause there for a moment. There was a bike rodeo in Alpine, Texas last year.
Yes.
Yeah, and now it's come to El Paso.
Yes.
Okay, please continue.
So what this is, and we had both parents and kids show up with their bikes, with their helmets, and they get free safety inspections. And there's an obstacle course, so the kids learn about safety on their riding their bicycle. And then we partner with the El Paso Police Department, and we're also partnering with Border Cycle and with the Justice of the Peace District 5 for this event. So if your children ride bikes, come and bring them with their helmets so that they can learn all about bike safety out on the roadways.
That's totally different than what I was expecting. I was expecting it to be where we time how long kids can stay on the bike before they get knocked off.
Oh no,
That would be not very TXDOT-y.
that's not safe
yeah.
either. Yeah.
Exactly. Getting back to the seat safety checks, they're all your events are east side. Is there something you have against the west side, or
No,
what
they
was it?
also take place on the west side. But something very important to mention to people is that if you need one of these if you want your car seat checks, then all you have to do is call us, and we have a traffic safety specialist that can take care of that for you.
Okay. All right. So you don't have to have an event. This question did just come in. You don't have to go to an event to have your car seat checked.
Correct.
Okay.
You can call us. SaveMeWithASeat.org is where you can go, or you can call us there at TXDOT, or go to TXDOT.gov to let us know that you need help with that, and we can assist you. Yeah, you don't have to go to an event. Maybe these times don't work for you. Maybe you are West Side.
Yeah.
Maybe you're Central.
Right.
But we do have a traffic safety specialist that can get you an appointment and work with you on that.
Right. Yeah, because you are right. When I had little kids, I found out that I was putting my car seats in incorrectly, and it was just like not immediately clear. It is good to get some outside understanding on that, and not just assume that you're doing it correctly.
Yeah, and unfortunately, sometimes we have had people drive up with children without restraints.
Wow.
So, there is help out there for people that need it. And again, grandma, aunts, uncles, cousins, do help with taking care of the kids sometimes. So it's very important to have the right seat for each of them.
Absolutely. Well, we only have 1 minute left, and I know you also wanted to say the best way to learn about traffic closures. I'm assuming the answer is to listen to KELP and Charlie One's reports. But what other options are out there?
Yeah, so drivetexas.org is our online website that has not only road conditions for El Paso, but the whole state. And it allows you the opportunity to register for traffic alerts. If you register for these alerts, you put in your email, select the roadways that you'd like to be notified on. You get an email when a road closes, and once it opens, and this could be for construction, a crash, or weather. You can also go to TXDOT.gov under Newsroom, El Paso News, and our closures are posted there. Everything from guardrail to concrete work to projects. Those are updated. Those are updated every week. You can also go to our Facebook pages or to our Twitter or X page at TXDOT-ELP. Very important that if you are impacted by the Widening West projects, there is a Widening West Facebook page, and that's where you'll get the closures or any news impacting that particular project. So you want to definitely like that page and follow it.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a ton of different options out there for finding out about those closures, and I have learned the hard way. It's always better to check before you leave home or work.
It's important to map your route because it might be easier to go 375 than I-10 that particular day.
For sure. Well, thank you again for coming in. We've been with Lauren Macias-Cervantes, the Public Information Officer of TXDOT, and also the Director of Transportation Planning and Development of TXDOT, Raul Ortega. Much more that we could talk about, but we are just flat out of time. Thanks again for coming in. And as we always say at the end of 915 Talk, let's learn to love our city, love our neighbor, and give God all the glory. This has been 915 Talk.
You have been listening to 915 Talk on KELP Christian Radio. To listen to past recordings of 915 Talk, just visit KELPradio.com and click on the 915 Talk link. Until next time, love your neighbor, love your city, and give God all the glory.